Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My beloved brothers and sisters in faith, welcome back to our channel where we explore the extraordinary lives of Islamic luminaries who transform the spiritual landscape of humanity forever. Today I'm thrilled to share with you a story so profound, so life-changing, that it will completely revolutionize how you understand the depths of Islamic mysticism and the power of divine love. Before we embark on this spiritual journey, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because what you're about to discover will touch your soul and ignite your heart in ways you never imagined possible. Have you ever wondered what it takes to reach the pinnacle of spiritual realization? To become a bridge between the earthly and the divine? To transform personal suffering into universal wisdom that continues to heal hearts 8 centuries later? What kind of extraordinary soul can turn the deepest pain into the most beautiful poetry, converting loss into love and separation into union with the Almighty? Today, I want to tell you about a man whose name has become synonymous with divine love itself. A towering figure whose spiritual insights transcend religious boundaries while remaining deeply rooted in Islamic tradition. A poet whose verses continue to awaken souls across the globe, and whose mystical teachings offer a direct path to experiencing Allah's infinite mercy and love. This man is Jalal ad-Din Rumi, and his incredible transformation from a conventional religious scholar into history's greatest mystical poet represents one of the most remarkable spiritual journeys in human history, a metamorphosis that would create a legacy touching millions of hearts and minds for generations to come. Picture this scene with me for a moment. It's the year 1207 CE, and in the scholarly city of Balkh, in present-day Afghanistan, a child is born into a family of renowned Islamic scholars and mystics, a family whose lineage traces back to the first Caliph Abu Bakr. May Allah be pleased with him. This child, Jalal ad-Din Muhammad, grows up surrounded by the intellectual and spiritual giants of his time, breathing the rarefied air of Islamic learning and mystical wisdom from his earliest days. His father, Bahauddin Walad, known as the Sultan of Scholars, is one of the most respected Sufi masters of his generation, a man whose spiritual insights attract students from across the Islamic world, and whose mystical teachings lay the foundation for his son's extraordinary spiritual development. The young Jalal ad-Din's education is comprehensive and profound, encompassing not only the traditional Islamic sciences of Quran, Hadith, and jurisprudence, but also the deeper mysteries of Sufism, the science of the heart that seeks direct experience of Allah's presence through spiritual practice and divine love. But destiny has much greater plans for this remarkable soul than a comfortable life of scholarship and teaching. When Jalal ad-Din is still a young boy, his family is forced to flee their homeland due to the approaching Mongol invasions that are devastating the Islamic world, beginning a journey that will take them through the great centers of Islamic learning and eventually to the city of Konya in Anatolia, where the young scholar will experience the spiritual transformation that changes everything. The journey westward is not merely a physical migration, but a spiritual pilgrimage that exposes the young Rumi to the incredible diversity of Islamic culture and mystical practice, from the scholarly traditions of Baghdad to the ecstatic practices of Persian Sufis, from the legal schools of Damascus to the mystical circles of Cairo. Each encounter adds new dimensions to his understanding of the infinite ways that souls can approach the divine, preparing him for the role he will play as a bridge between different spiritual traditions and a voice that speaks to the universal human longing for connection with Allah. By the time the family settles in Konya, Jalal ad-Din has already established himself as a brilliant scholar and teacher, following in his father's footsteps and attracting students who come to study Islamic law and theology under his guidance. His lectures are renowned for their depth and clarity, his legal opinions are sought by scholars throughout the region, and his reputation as a conventional religious authority seems firmly established. But Allah has prepared something infinitely more extraordinary for this exceptional soul, a spiritual awakening that will transform not only his own life, but the entire landscape of Islamic mysticism and world literature. The turning point comes in 1244 CE, when Jalal ad-Din, now 37 years old and at the height of his academic career, encounters a wandering dervish named Shams Tabrizi, a meeting that will shatter his conventional existence and ignite a spiritual fire that burns away everything except pure love for Allah. Shams is unlike anyone Jalal ad-Din has ever met, a wild and unpredictable mystic whose very presence seems to radiate the overwhelming reality of divine love, whose eyes burn with the fire of direct spiritual experience, whose every word cuts through the veils of conventional religious practice to reveal the naked truth of Allah's infinite mercy and beauty. The encounter between these two spiritual giants is electric and transformative, like lightning striking the earth and setting everything ablaze with divine light. Shams sees in Jalal ad-Din a soul capable of the highest spiritual realization, while Jalal ad-Din recognizes in Shams a perfect mirror of divine love, a human being so completely surrendered to Allah that his very existence has become a window into the infinite. Their friendship becomes a spiritual laboratory where two souls explore the deepest mysteries of divine love, where conventional religious boundaries dissolve in the face of overwhelming spiritual reality, where the love between human beings becomes a direct experience of Allah's love for His creation. For months, they are inseparable, spending days and nights in deep spiritual conversation, in ecstatic prayer and remembrance of Allah, in explorations of mystical states that few human beings ever experience. Jalal ad-Din's students and followers are bewildered by this transformation, watching their respected scholarly teacher become completely absorbed in mystical practice, abandoning his regular lectures and legal consultations to spend every moment with this strange wandering dervish who has appeared from nowhere and captured their master's entire attention. The intensity of their spiritual friendship creates jealousy and suspicion among some of Jalal ad-Din's disciples, who cannot understand the profound transformation taking place in their teacher's heart and soul. The crisis comes when Shams suddenly disappears, leaving no trace and no explanation, plunging Jalal ad-Din into a state of spiritual anguish that would have destroyed a lesser soul, but instead becomes the crucible in which his greatest spiritual insights are forged. The pain of separation from his beloved friend and spiritual guide creates a fire in his heart that burns away all remaining attachments to worldly concerns and conventional religious practice, leaving only the pure gold of divine love and mystical realization. It is in this state of spiritual crisis and overwhelming longing that Jalal ad-Din begins to compose the poetry that will make him immortal, verses that pour from his heart like water from a spring, expressing the inexpressible mysteries of divine love in language so beautiful and profound that it transcends all barriers of culture, language, and religious tradition. His poetry is not merely literature, but spiritual medicine, each verse a window into the direct experience of Allah's infinite love and mercy, each metaphor a bridge between the human heart and the divine reality that lies beyond all forms and concepts. The Masnavi, his greatest masterpiece, becomes known as the Quran in Persian, a spiritual epic that guides souls through the stages of mystical development, from the initial stirring of spiritual longing to the ultimate realization of unity with Allah. But Rumi's genius lies not only in his ability to express the highest spiritual truths in the most beautiful language, but in his capacity to make these truths accessible to every human heart, regardless of their religious background or level of spiritual development. His poetry speaks to the universal human experience of longing, loss, love, and the search for meaning, while remaining deeply rooted in Islamic mystical tradition and Quranic wisdom. He demonstrates that the path to Allah is not through dry intellectual study alone, but through the awakening of the heart, through the cultivation of love and surrender, through the direct experience of divine presence in every moment of life. His mystical teachings emphasize that Allah is not a distant deity to be feared and obeyed from afar, but the very essence of existence, the beloved who is closer to us than our own jugular vein, the infinite source of love and beauty that we encounter in every breath, every heartbeat, every moment of genuine spiritual awareness. The establishment of the Mevlevi Order, known in the West as the Whirling Dervishes, creates a structured path for souls seeking to follow in Rumi's footsteps, a complete system of spiritual practice that combines poetry, music, and sacred dance to induce states of mystical ecstasy and divine remembrance. The whirling ceremony, or sema, becomes a living embodiment of Rumi's teachings, a sacred ritual in which participants literally embody the movement of the cosmos around the divine center, their spinning bodies representing the rotation of the planets, their outstretched arms connecting heaven and earth, their hearts open to receive the infinite love of Allah. But Rumi's influence extends far beyond the formal structure of the Sufi order that bears his name, reaching into every corner of Islamic spirituality and beyond, inspiring countless souls to discover the depths of their own capacity for divine love and mystical realization. His poetry has been translated into dozens of languages and continues to be among the most widely read spiritual literature in the world, speaking to contemporary seekers with the same power and immediacy that it possessed in the 13th century. What makes Rumi's message so universal and timeless is his emphasis on love as the fundamental force of existence, the energy that moves the stars and awakens the human heart, the bridge between finite and infinite, the path that leads every soul back to its source in Allah. He teaches that divine love is not something we must earn through good deeds or correct belief, but our very essence, the deepest truth of what we are, the reality that becomes apparent when all illusions of separation fall away. His mystical psychology demonstrates that the pain and suffering we experience in life are not punishments or meaningless accidents, but the very mechanisms through which Allah calls us back to consciousness of our true nature, the bitter medicine that awakens us from the sleep of unconsciousness and opens our hearts to the infinite love that is our birthright. The story of Shams and Rumi becomes a perfect metaphor for the soul's relationship with Allah, the beloved who appears in our lives to awaken us to divine love, who may seem to disappear but whose presence continues to burn in the heart of every genuine seeker, transforming separation into union and loss into the discovery of infinite treasure. Dear brothers and sisters, the legacy of Jalal ad-Din Rumi speaks to us across 8 centuries, reminding us that Islam is not merely a religion of law and ritual, but a complete path of spiritual transformation that can lead every soul to the direct experience of Allah's infinite love and mercy. In our modern world, where so many people feel disconnected from the sacred, where religious practice often seems dry and mechanical, where the heart's longing for divine connection is often ignored or misunderstood, Rumi's example shows us that the path to Allah is always available, that every moment offers an opportunity for spiritual awakening, that love is the key that unlocks all doors to divine realization. His poetry reminds us that Allah is not found only in mosques and holy books, but in every sunrise, every act of kindness, every moment of genuine human connection, every breath that flows through our bodies, every beat of our hearts that carries us closer to the ultimate reality of divine love. The courage with which Rumi abandoned conventional religious success to pursue the highest spiritual realization, the complete surrender with which he gave himself to divine love, the generosity with which he shared his mystical insights with all humanity. These qualities challenge us to examine our own spiritual lives and ask ourselves whether we are truly open to the transformative power of Allah's love. His teachings remind us that the ultimate goal of Islamic practice is not merely to follow rules and regulations, but to awaken the heart to its true nature, to become so completely surrendered to Allah that our very existence becomes a mirror of divine love, reflecting Allah's infinite mercy and beauty to everyone we encounter. If this incredible story has touched your heart, if it has awakened in you a longing for deeper spiritual connection, if it has reminded you of the infinite love that Allah has for every one of His servants, please share it with others who need to hear this message of divine love and mystical realization. Subscribe to our channel and join us as we continue to explore the rich tradition of Islamic spirituality, the saints and sages whose lives demonstrate that the path to Allah is always open, that divine love is always available, that every human heart carries within it the capacity for the highest spiritual realization. May Allah grant us all a taste of the divine love that transformed Jalal ad-Din Rumi. May He open our hearts to the mystical dimensions of Islamic practice. May He help us to see His infinite beauty reflected in every aspect of creation. And may He guide us on the path of love that leads every soul back to its source in the infinite ocean of divine mercy. Barakallahu fikum, and I'll see you soon insha'Allah for more inspiring stories from our magnificent Islamic heritage that will awaken your heart and illuminate your spiritual journey beyond all measure.